Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to the September meeting of the New York City Veteran Advisory Board. I'm Todd Haskins, the chair of the board. We'll quickly do introductions of everybody, and then we'll go through our agenda. So, Charles, you want to go at your end?
Charles Hernandez, representative of the Bronx.
Hi, Tiffany Doherty, and I represent Manhattan.
Todd Haskins, Manhattan.
James Hendon, Bronx.
Peter Kaufman from Queens and the Navy.
Joe Bello, Bronx Navy.
John Rowan, Queens Air Force.
Yeah.
So we have apologies for starting late. We had a couple of internal discussions in preparation for our year-end report, which is sort of well underway, and we've been working towards. A couple of objectives today. So first of all, thank you. Is anyone from the Staten Island President's office here? If not, I just want to say thank you for hosting us as always in this great venue. We really appreciate it, and also appreciate those of you who've turned out to participate today. We're going to start really quickly with the Department of Veteran Services. Alexis is going to give us an update on some of the recent activities that they've had over the last couple of months since our last meeting.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexis Pachowski, and I'm the Associate Commissioner of Public Affairs at Department of Veteran Services. It's good to be here. And Commissioner Sutton sends her regards. She's in Washington at a VA Federal Advisory Committee on caregivers and their families. So one of the first things we wanted to update you on is the Fair Fares rollout for student veterans. We've been doing some outreach to colleges and universities across New York City to ensure that student veterans knew that they were eligible for discounted Metro cards. We've had 743 students express interest. We're really pleased with that number, and we're working with them now to get their paperwork taken care of so that they can take advantage of this benefit. We had a hearing last week on the Vet Connect NYC. I hope that you all are signed up and have expressed interest or submitted an assistance request for Vet Connect NYC. This is our coordinated care platform. It's a one-stop shop for access to services and benefits. And so we talked a little bit about the...
Speak up a little bit.
Oh, sure. We talked a little bit about how the platform has performed over the last year, and we had our partners from IVMF, Northwell Health, and Unite Us also attend the hearing, and there was a lot of representation from the community as well. So we have about 111 service providers now as part of the network for Vet Connect NYC, and we're in the process of bringing on an additional 26 as we speak. So we're trying to expand the network, make sure that all the services people are looking for have adequate resources within the network. The Mayor's Management Report came out last week, the MMR. This document shows how DVS has performed over the course of the last year with our key indicators. And the two main ones that we're focused on are the number of homeless veterans that we've assisted and the number of families and veterans who we've made connections with to connect them to resources. So we have, based on the metrics that we were seeing, we added an additional staff member for the housing team. So we are on track this year to have a record number of moves. We were waiting last year for some supportive housing units to open up, which finally came around summertime, I would say August or September, July, and that opened up an additional 130 units for supportive housing. So we are moving more and more veterans into supportive housing that need it, and we're working every day to try to get more affordable housing stock available for our veterans. We now also have an expanded outreach team. We used to have our agency, for those of you who are familiar with DVS, kind of separated into folks who were focused on employment and education, and folks who were more focused on health. We've now cross-trained those teams so that all of our outreach staff is able to provide resources and connections for all of those services. We're really excited about. We have a new team member. We have two new team members I'd like to mention. First, our CIO, his name is Jose Gomez. He's not here tonight, but he will probably attend future VA meetings. He's an Army veteran. He's been working in city government for 14 years, so he brings a lot of experience to the team. And he used to be with FDNY and Department of Consumer Affairs. We have just we're so thrilled to have him on board. Speaking of technology, we have a digital outreach manager on our team, standing right here behind the camera. This is Gil Feliciano, who has been working magic on social media. So if you're not following us on social media, now's a good time to start, because Gil's doing great work there. And we have one last thing to mention. We're trying very hard to make sure that we reach out to veteran-owned businesses so that they can understand the process of procuring contracts with city agencies. So on October 30th, we're holding what we're calling the VetSource Grow Summit. We're working with IBMF and with Google to have this one-day conference for veteran-owned businesses and military spouse-owned businesses. So if you know anyone that owns their own business or is a military spouse who owns a business who wants to learn more about how you go through procurement, which can be a little bit confusing, make sure you let them know it's October 30th, and any one of our team members here can give you more information about that. All right, so thank you very much for your time, and stay in touch.
Great. Thanks, Alexis. So a couple of other things to note. I think the city's hiring freeze is now over. So DVS staff, I think, is at 46 now? 40? So, which is, I think, the highest it's ever been. So very close to full staff, which happens to coincide with DVS also recently turning 3. So now a toddler, officially closing on being out of startup phase and really having a cohesive team that's close to the scale that I think everyone envisions around helping to coordinate city services to veterans across the city. A couple things to note around some of the things that Alexis mentioned. This Fair Fares opportunity is a really unique opportunity that really highlights what New York City is trying to do and what we continue to urge our elected officials and DVS, et cetera, to do, that aligns and ties back with veterans on campus. So as everyone knows, right now there's about 12,000 veterans who are going to school in New York City. New York City is the city that has that exports more post-secondary education as any city in the nation. So more people not from New York study in New York City. 12,000 of those are GI Bill receiving veterans. And one of the things that we've highlighted for that brings many millions of dollars into the city's coffers. And so we want to make sure that we as a city really step up to the plate and meet in the middle there and provide as much support so that those veterans succeed in our schools. And so little things like offering free Metro cards and things such as that are a good token to sort of highlight that we would like veterans to come here and study in New York and hopefully stay and make a home here. So it's very important. Also, Alexis mentioned VetConnect NYC. This has been a program that has been in progress for many years and has had a significant amount of investment made. And really, it's good to see it finally launched. Really important to get the word out. Anyone who touches veterans in any way, to get the word out about that, so that more and more service providers come onto the platform. But more importantly, having all the great service providers on the platform is useful, because then veterans have an answer if they have a need. But then we need to increase the veteran awareness. So as people engage with their constituents, whatever they are, please make sure veterans know about that opportunity and utilize that service as much as possible. She also mentioned mentioned this veteran-owned business seminar, which is great, and we appreciate helping to educate veteran-owned businesses on best practices around contracting. But as we've highlighted in our report many times, New York City, despite the state, the federal government, et cetera, offers no preference for veteran-owned businesses and makes no official or tracked effort to do business with veterans, with veteran-owned businesses in a formal way. And so we'd like to use this as an opportunity to re-highlight that we think that's a pretty gross deficiency and a gross overlook, given that so many other constituencies have that. And we think that those who have served and who've gone on to then become entrepreneurs should be afforded that same support and success. And we've offered many solutions that would make that very easy, and in fact almost no cost to the city to make that change. So I'll just take the opportunity to state that one more time for the record there. So we don't have any official business from a voting wise perspective, but what do we have?
June minutes.
June minutes. Okay. Does, do we approve the minutes? How
Yeah,
do we-
that's it.
I move.
Move.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Minutes approved.
That's our only official business. The, maybe I should say we didn't have any exciting business.
Yeah.
But as you guys know, that one of the most important functions of us as a Veterans Advisory Board is really, ultimately to give advice to the mayor and the speaker. But we do that to try to be a voice to the community, and so we use these meetings as an opportunity to do that. That's why they're by city law in each borough. So that's why we're out here as opposed to wherever whichever borough we happen to come from. And so we're going to give the opportunity for folks who have a question, concern, discussion topic that they want to raise for the broader group here. And so I think Joe's got the list. Our custom is that someone who represents that community, so in this case Staten Island, host this meeting. Unfortunately, our Staten Island rep was not able to make it today. So Charles Hernandez has greatly offered to host this portion of the meeting. And does he have the list? Or he has the list? So I'll turn it over to him.
You're ready. All right. For the evening, we're asking, let me see, someone wrote it in. We got Sammy Cotto.
Yes. Ooh, sorry. So I'm a two-part version. I work for the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Come to the front.
That's one. I work for the Vet Center with Combat Mental Health. The second part, I've been in Staten Island for 5 years. I've only been working for the VA for 3 years. For the 5 years I've been coming to your meeting, but I don't see real representation from Staten Island. And that offends me because now that I work for the VA in Staten Island, I'm getting bombarded. One reason I'm getting bombarded is I got the homeless. Yes, we have certain SSVFs that support the VA funding to support us. But my veterans, I say I'm a representative for my veterans that I talk to, we have no support in Staten Island. If we want to go help with homeless, we got to go to the Bronx or we got to go to Manhattan. And if y'all don't know, people in Staten Island don't like leaving Staten Island. They'd rather go to Jersey. I'm still trying to learn this. I just moved here. Sometimes I want to go to the city. But they don't want to leave Staten Island. All the veteran services, especially for the hospital, guess where it's at? Brooklyn. I think recently we got audiology, which is great, and the veterans are appreciating it. I've been pushing for more vets. I've been going to the VVA, introducing myself, explaining to them they need to get a VA health card because if they're Vietnam vets, come on. If they don't got a VA health card, there's something wrong. But a lot of them are going through homelessness, and I have no help here. Second, I'm dealing with the widows now. I got World War II widows. I got Vietnam vet widows. They assume, I'm giving them literature, that they're getting $3,000 when their husband dies. They're not getting $3,000, they're getting half. The ones that have been helping me in Staten Island, I'm not asking questions, but it's the Borough Hall president. He's been helping my vets and their wives. I don't know how is he helping them, but they come back to me happy. So the question is there anything else that we could do? And then how could I run for a seat on the board because I'm in Staten Island, I'm a 34-year vet, recently retired, I'm trying to grow a beard, don't judge me. But I'm here to help my vets, but I want to help them in my VA way, and I want to help them with my, personal. So if there's anything I could do, please reach out to me and let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much.
You said this. I noticed up on the third floor there's a veterans office.
That's so.
State.
So let me tell you about the state. Me and Tony, we're best friends. He has helped me. This is what I'm dealing with. We were empty for a year and a half up there on the third floor.
Right.
I'm federal, he's state. I had nobody doing the widows DIC. I didn't have nobody doing the funeral things, the expenses. I didn't have nobody helping with the claims. What I was doing is jumping on the ferry, convincing them to go on the ferry. One-on-one, I took one to the VBA. VBA got tired of seeing me. So what they did is they gave me a VBA representative from the VA to come see me. What happened, VBA, a lot of people retired, I lost everybody. Tony comes in the picture, me and him work hand in hand. We're at the senator's office, we're at the councilman's office, helping the veterans in every different part of Staten Island because, in case y'all don't know, people on the other side of Staten Island don't want to come here because there's no parking. People on this side just don't want to go to the other side of Staten Island. So my burden is between Tony
That
and
is
me.
Jersey, isn't it?
What's Jersey is another thing that I work with vets on one-on-one basis. Even though my job is combat mental health, I get the call for the widow. I'm not gonna hang up for that widow. I talk to Tony, I go to the VBA, I get the information, and I pass the papers over. because some of them are disabled, don't wanna leave the house. I have a vet right now that's 82, can't leave the couch. So I went to his house and explained to him, he don't want our services, sir, but you need a VA. He finally applied. I'm trying to see if we go forward. We just told him to see if we could make leeways to see him. But I do got a lot of vets in Staten Island that can't leave. And another thing is, I'm gonna talk for them, transportation. Some of these vets want to go to the VA, but they can't leave their house. Accessoride is not a great thing for veterans. Other states, I'm not mentioning Jersey, has organizations that picks you up and drops you off at the VA and picks you up again.
Yeah.
I took a vet, I cannot drive vets no more in my car. They told me I get in trouble if I don't have a federal car. And I can't even put it in the car. So I told them, please work with me with Accessoride. So Accessoride took 3 hours to get to the vet. Met him at 11 o'clock in Brooklyn. He only had 1 hour because they had to come back real quick. So if we can find a way to help these vets get transported, especially my elderly. The young ones, I'll make them come. But the elderly, they're 70, 80 years old. They got leg problems. I got the guy that's in the sofa, he breathes out of the tank. So we gotta find ways for these veterans, and they're calling me. Tony helps me with all the claims, all the paperwork. I can't touch paperwork because I'm a VA employee of the hospital. But Tony's the one that guides me. But going forward, if y'all can help me with the transportation here, I'll be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Is there an LPC out here, VA LPC at Staten Island, little outpatient clinic?
Yes, there is one on 1150 South Avenue. The problem with that is, if the vet has an appointment in the city, he has to go at 6 in the morning to CBOC, go to Brooklyn at 8 o'clock, grab the 9 o'clock to get to Manhattan,
Come back.
and come back. Another thing I don't know if y'all know about, my CMP exams. A lot of my vets are getting claims, they're sending them to New Jersey. They're sending them to upstate New York. These
Why?
are 80, 70-year-old people that cannot do the travel.
Why are they sending people to
Because
another?
they don't have nobody around here to do it. So if they want an appointment, they could get it, but there's going outsourced. There's other organizations that are doing the CMP. So if there's anything you have
So
to
they
do with
could take
that,
them to Brooklyn.
it's rare.
So for DVS, what are the hour, I know there's published office hours in each borough, for the outreach coordinators. If not, they're,
Okay,
So-
so our
Well,
DBS in Staten Island.
let me just add Tony, right?
Yes.
Tony C. So you're right under him, so you're both all right now talking.
Yes.
So
Oh,
you
no,
talk-
no, no, he's talking.
Well, okay, I'm just saying, you're up
Okay.
here, adding this, I'm assuming
No,
you're gonna jump in before she goes into the whole realm.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay, my turn? Okay, yeah. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, right, for having this event. The veteran community definitely needs its on board, right? So, thank you, and thank you for everybody here who has served. I myself, I'm a veteran, okay? Just a little bit about myself. I'm with the New York State Division of Veteran Services. Like Sammy Coates has said, right? I am your person who does a lot of your VA claims, state benefits, right? Just a little introduction about myself. My office is on the 3rd floor, okay? It's appointments only, okay? There's a reason for it's appointment only. Everybody's a vet here? Everybody understands. It's not a 5-minute process. Never a 5-minute question, okay? And I do give my full respect to all of my veterans that come to my office, okay? On that note, I just want to piggyback on Sam Coates. Sam and I have been partnered up in the Staten Island borough, doing a lot of the outreach, sort of like a one hand watches the other, right? Because after all, we're here to help a fellow brother and sister and the family members, okay? In Staten Island, this is what I have seen, okay? I have a lot of senior veterans, okay? Senior veterans, I'm talking about World War II, Korean veterans, okay? Vietnam veterans, that's just the veterans. The average age is in the 60s, okay? So to Sam's piggyback, transportation is a big issue, okay? Especially some of these senior veterans, they have mobility issues. And on top of that, there is a housing concerns, right? And my other constituents involve surviving spouse, okay? For example, I get this every day in my office, okay? The veteran, as a veteran, you understand that this is a very uphill battle for your VA benefits. Most veterans, I don't know about their family situations, perhaps don't like to talk about it with their loved ones, okay? But I'm gonna tell you right now, when a spouse comes to my office, knocks on the door, first time, my significant other passed away, I need benefits, they don't know nothing, they're civilians, right? And it's not their fault, it's nobody's fault. But I have to tell them, I'm appointments only, because I don't, I'm booked to all the way to December. Okay? So I guess this is my opportunity to announce that I'm here to help you guys, right? And there's some great folks here that I've been helping and teaching them and doing some outreach, okay? And I have worked with Monique also in the past, so she has, and I have helped some of the veterans. But just don't forget about Staten Island. That's all I'm gonna say.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Is there any of the VSOs, any of the Legion, VFW, or anybody else doing?
I don't represent them.
No, but are they doing any service rep work out here to work with you at all?
Yeah, so to answer that question, it says, it would be best for you to contact their organization. I represent New York State.
I understand that, but
We actually got AMVETS. We have one person that shows up 2 Thursdays a month. He's fully booked almost 3 or 4 months in advance. And mostly that he deals with, whatever he can, he's been my longtime customer since a long time, before I started. When Tony came in, I started throwing everybody to Tony. So he's only dealing with people that already he has a client with, and sometimes when they can't reach Tony, and we have a slot available, we'll
the
throw him
bottom
in.
line is the Legion, the VFW, nobody else has an office here.
I don't get it.
No, I mean, you would know that. I'm not
Yeah, I would know,
asking you.
but that's the only one that I have right now.
Okay.
It's him and my AMVET.
All right. So, I mean, this follows up on our conversation earlier with McDonough, the director, your boss.
Yes.
He's an old friend. So we'll have to send McDonough a little note that he needs another body out here in Staten Island. They used to have a couple, but
Yes. But again, this is not a dissing contest, please. Okay? I'm here to support everybody here. So I'm here. My office just upstairs. Okay? Just appointments only, please. Okay? All right. And thank you
I was
very
gonna
much.
say, we should make sure you guys get linked up, maybe not. like-
Monique and I will work
Okay, you guys already, okay.
Yeah, we are.
So let me just give a few words.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Alright. Hello everyone, my name is Monique Rada. I'm actually the Staten Island rep in the New York State Department of Veteran Services. I'm located here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in G25. My office hours are from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. You can walk in, preferably we do prefer appointments, however you can walk in, and I'm more than happy to assist you on an array of city level things, and also working with my counterparts out in Staten Island to connect you to services and resources for you as the veteran and your family as well. I'm a veteran myself. My father served in Vietnam and my grandfather in World War II and Korean War. So it's a passion of mine to serve my veterans, and I count it an honor. So thank you. I'll leave cards at the front, and please feel free to call me, walk in, and I'm here available. Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's G25, so it's the ground floor.
On behalf of, to the board, I would like to suggest that we talk to the commissioner about expanding these counselors that are in the boroughs. 2 days a week is not enough for anything. And, it's nice that we got, 30 some odd people in Manhattan. That's wonderful. But each of the boroughs needs a body, and they need it all the time. I mean, you can listen to both of these other gentlemen, and maybe with this Vets Connect business, we might find some other organizations who might be able to fill in those gaps that they've got with transportation, for example. That might be a little bit more easily done. And I don't understand, and we have, as I mentioned to the board, and I'll mention to everybody here, there's a hearing next Wednesday that's run by the nurses, the NNU, the nurses, National Nurses United, I think it stands for. It's the union folks in the VA. And they're having a public hearing tomorrow, Friday evening, the 4th, at IS 259 McKinley Intermediate School, which is at 74th Street and Fort Hamilton Parkway. So for those of you who know Brooklyn at all, it's not too hard to get over. It's just over the bridge. And it's going to have the congressman, your local congressman, Max Rose, is going to be there. He's supposedly one of the speakers. And I would think it would behoove you to go complain, because I hate to tell you that even if you get across that bridge and you get to the Brooklyn VA, you're going to be sorely disappointed in many instances because the number of staff over there has gotten low. I had one of my buddies who they literally took by ambulance from Queens to Brooklyn, and it was proved he was having a stroke. And when they figured out what they were doing with him, they had to send him to Manhattan because there was no bed in Brooklyn. And in fact, he passed away about 4 days later. But the bottom line was they couldn't even keep him in Brooklyn. They had to move him to Manhattan for lack of a bed. So we've got to have a real serious conversation with what's going on in the Brooklyn VA hospital. And that was a hospital that was golden for years. And I don't know whether it's just the general shrinkage that's going on in the VA, or the determining of trying to focus everything into Manhattan, or get everybody to focus on going to NYU instead of Manhattan, or something else. So I would encourage those of you to spread the word and talk to your friends across the bridge in Brooklyn that this is unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Tony and Sammy. Thank you so much. And the next gentleman, Robert Poles.
Yes.
Does that sound right? Yeah?
I.
Please, come
How
on.
are you?
All right.
I have 3 ideas.
Robert, if you could come this side so you don't drive our cameraman too crazy. You know, you can cut across the front. We're not. We're fine.
Another union thing.
Yeah. We're very casual there.
My name is Robert Poles. I lived in Brooklyn since 1999. I'm a United States Army veteran with 2 honorable discharges. I had 3 ideas to present to the VAB. I was told to do it this way, and then that it will facilitate communication with the NYC DBS, and to then pursue matters with NYS DBS. If I may here, I have some documents for members of the board. The front page is just my contact information and a very brief introduction to me. The 3 ideas comprise very basic elements of, I have one left if anyone would care for another one, gentlemen? Yeah, okay, comprise of very basic ideas. Like I said, the front sheet is just contact information about me. The second sheet, the next 2 sheets concern free transportation for veterans. A lot of people don't know it, but there are 2 bills in New York State Senate and New York State Assembly. The bills are asking for a 50% fare reduction for veterans. I have been on the phone with the sponsoring offices. They tell me that there is a very good chance of the bill passing. They're saying that they have majority support for that bill passing. What happened was last spring, I went down to the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, one of the 7 groups that I belong to, veterans groups that I belong to, and I talked to some people, and I ran across people from Des Moines, Iowa, and Kansas City, Missouri. They told me that they have full fare for veterans. Okay, if you'll take a look on that second sheet, you'll see that there are at least 14 cities in the United States that provide full fare for veterans and military. Some different, they differentiate categories. Some you have to have a disability, some they don't. No disability whatsoever if you're a vet, and if you're all military, you ride free, that's it. Okay. My idea was, why not New York City? Okay, we have a lot of veterans in New York City. So I talked to the Assembly people, and I talked to the Senate offices, the veterans chair for both, and I have yet to talk to, but I talked to some of their Lowell people and some of their legislative directors, for the sponsoring assembly person did not think that if we started and completed a campaign and presented it at that Senate and Assembly session, it would, number one, have any negative effect whatsoever. It wouldn't delay it and it wouldn't destroy the bill. The least that we'd come out with would be 50% because, as they're saying, it's very favorable now. On the other sheet, there's also a list of some cities and some companies that offer transportation reduction fares. The very simple fact about it is that I asked one of the legislative directors up there, what did he think, and about the 100%, and he says, he refused to commit himself, but he says it wouldn't hurt. Okay. That's the first option. The second option, I don't have any paperwork on. While I was at the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans and whatnot, I attended this seminar, and the whole thing was based upon the idea of having low-income housing set-asides, a certain percentage of the set-asides being allotted for veterans. Okay. Someone got up and said that they had been working with real estate agents and not the government, and someone else got up and said, no, you have to have it legislated through the government or it won't happen. There was a big fight in New York City, and a lot of people that I know are getting into brand new top-notch apartment buildings. For instance, Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. I had 4 people move out of my building. They are getting $1,600, $1,800, and $2,000 apartments per month. They're, because of their economic status and their economic status alone, they're paying $188. Everything is brand new. Okay. The question came up, I understand there was a huge fight here for that, through legislation, but anyway, it's here. The question came up, why not have a percentage of that set aside for vets, allocated for vets? I don't have any paperwork on it. I haven't done any phone work. I haven't done any footwork. I haven't done anything because I didn't know how. I do have a few calls for DVS and whatnot. Okay, so that's transportation and that's housing. Full fare for transportation and low-income allocations for vets and military personnel. The third and last issue that I'm addressing here is psychiatric commitment of veterans by NYPD and FDNY. Okay. If those of you who have sheets, if you'll take a look at this sheet with that, in the 1920s, I had to go up to Albany to get this, and they don't have much up there, but I got what they have. In the 1920s, New York State legislature, this is from a 1927 sheet, specified their preference that mental veterans be treated at federal hospitals. At this particular time, it was what, Kingsborough or something? Kingsbridge Road and whatnot. They specifically stated New York City, interstate law. On the next page, you'll see that that same legislator also said that the vets who were in other state hospitals, not the federal hospital, the mental patients were to be transferred from the state hospitals to the federal hospital. Okay, now here's my whole point. This has been going on since 1920 something. If you will take a look at this page here, this is coming from 1985. The big legislative changes on this was in the 1950s, the 1970s, but the really big one occurred in 1985, and I'm going to prove it to you in a minute. It says here, highlighted, no longer will it be necessary to commit veterans to state-operated facilities for transfer to veterans hospitals, because at one time, that was the only way that it could be done through emergency psychiatric commitments. They've done it to me twice. One time they refused to transfer me anywhere. I did 6 days in Woodhull. Okay, believe it or not, all of it stemmed from a landlord war that I have. I was suing her at the time. She called the cop and had me shipped out for the second time. Okay, now, that's what happened in 1985. They did away with the cops not being allowed to take you, the cops and FDNY not being allowed to take you to a VA facility. They could only take you to what they call a CPEC, a Certified Psychiatric Emergency something. Okay. There's much law on this. Next, you have 79.9, which is also specific, a law, state law, specifically stating, as I've highlighted, this also happened in 1985, for emergency psychiatrics commitments, the vet can go to the Veterans Hospital. Here it's the VA or another federal health facility. Okay, so since 1985, the vets are supposed to be, through legislative enactments, supposed to be taken to the VA. Okay? Now, in my experience, I have 20-something vets in my building. They've done it to me twice. Sometimes the cops and the FDNY will do it, and sometimes they will not. FDNY, the cops don't care where you are, okay? FDNY has this system. When the ambulance comes up, they plug in their information, and there's this computer system that tells them which hospital you're supposed to go to. Okay, now, the next sheet is 9.41, Mental Hygiene Law 9.41, which states that the police officers, it doesn't say anything about FDNY, are supposed to take you, are allowed to take you to any hospital and to any CPEC, Certified Psychiatric, which according to 79.29, since 1985, is the Veterans Hospital. Here's the whole thing. By law and by common sense, the vet is supposed to be taken to the Veterans Hospital in New York City. Sometimes they don't do it, and it causes all kinds of problems. I'm here to tell you. I did 6 days in Woodhull. I could not get out. For 3 days, they refused to call my VA psychiatrist. The advocacy thing, they have 2 advocacy programs for mental hygiene people. That was a joke to them. The whole show is just that. I've talked to other veterans, they tell me the same story. Now, when I was up in Albany, they tell me not to try to have it done throughout the entire state, but since New York State recognizes New York City through the 1927 provision to have it done in New York City, I do a little legal research. I figured out how to have it done. I'm looking for support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got some questions. Robert, I got
Yes,
a couple
sir.
of questions. Your research is really interesting. I like all the,
That's nothing, sir. Believe me, I nailed it.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's just an introduction.
no, that you found this old mental hygiene law is fascinating.
Yeah.
I went up to the state law library up in Albany.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of these old laws, however, is they ran out. They expired, and the city in its infinite wisdom did not redo a lot of these laws. For example, one of the things you talked about with regards to housing, veterans used to have housing preference for city-owned housing. For all the city projects, veterans were supposed to get preference. This goes back again to good old World War II days. My wife, she just left for a second, but she lived in the Queensbridge houses by the 59th Street Bridge because her father was a World War II veteran and a police officer. Imagine they made such little money they could go in the city housing project. But that's gone. They stopped that years ago. We've been trying to get that reinstated for veterans, and they don't do it. I don't know why they don't do it, but they don't. And that's a shame, and it's something we really ought to revisit, right, Joe,
Yeah.
down there, Mr. Councilperson?
Yeah.
You know, because that's really where we get caught up in a lot of these things. We had wonderful laws, but they all disappeared. So hopefully we can try to get them back. I find your issue with the psychiatric referrals fascinating. I'm not so sure how much the VA could even take them, even if you got it. I mean, because I don't know how good their psychiatric programs are these days.
They do take them. They took me once.
Yeah.
But it
Which,
only-
where, Manhattan?
No, it took me, I've lived in Brooklyn, but they took me from Brooklyn to Manhattan.
To Manhattan, yeah.
And it only cost me 6 hours. They were very professional. They were very reasonable. They were excellent. When I got to Woodhull, it was all the money machine. They keep you and they hold you as long as possible unless you're a problem.
Right.
If you are a physical problem to you, they ship you out to Rikers. That's it.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. It's something that maybe the folks at DVS can take a look at, because I don't think this is an issue that I've heard come up yet. Is anybody? I mean, we haven't seen that yet. But that's a really good issue, and I'll talk to you later about some other things.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Robert, I had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I know this, you've experienced this, but any idea, any estimate as far as how many veterans have experienced this?
No, I have run across two. I have thought about a way to come up with the
It's hard.
statistics,
It's hard.
but you cannot get into those statistics until you subpoena,
Understood.
and you
Understood.
can't subpoena until you sue.
You're building a program, or is
It is.
Okay. Who's running it? If you don't mind?
BCHS, Brooklyn Community Housing and Services.
Okay.
About 1/3 of the residents in my building, they operate various programs around Brooklyn, but about in the Oak program, approximately 20-something HUD-VASH VA placements.
Yeah, very good. Okay, that's interesting.
And they get thrown out of it. If it's not that, they just call the cops and take you to jail.
Yeah, thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Just want to intervene for 1 second. I have childcare issues and have to go, but I will be watching the recording tomorrow, and we'll make sure that we get the minutes as well from the meeting. So
Very
thank you
good.
so much for
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Who's next?
Next.
This has been fun.
Oh, yeah.
Docket.
Yeah, we're logging this one down.
Ah.
Molly Levy?
Yes, and I apologize upfront, but I'm expecting a call from Accessorize because I have to get back to Brooklyn.
Ah.
You know, I'm here, you know, I know we started late, I mean, I was here early, but I'm just saying that I can't tell Accessorize, please wait, because they'll leave. So I'm gonna try and make it quick anyway. Happy autumn, everybody. I love this season, this is my favorite time of year. I'm not a veteran, I wanna thank all the veterans here who serve. I'm a strong veterans advocate. I'm a member of EVA Chapter 126 in Manhattan and Rolling Thunder Chapter 1 in Brooklyn. My late partner, many of you might have known, Patrick Walteri, worked with United War Veterans Council. He's credited, he was the brains behind the Veterans Day Parade. We worked closely together for 15 years. He passed away sadly from lung cancer 4 years ago. And yes, he was exposed to Agent Orange, but we were just having that conversation. He also was a smoker because he got cigarettes as rations in the Army. And they said it would calm you down. Yeah, it calmed him down. In any event, I'm very embedded in the veterans community. I produce a newsletter. I actually started at PLG Veterans Assistance Fund after my partner passed away to continue his living legacy. He was a larger-than-life personality, and I wanted to continue and carry that torch forward. I produce a newsletter for the veterans community, so if people have events out there, I mean, I get a tremendous amount. If you're not on my newsletter, please somewhere get your information to me and I'll include you. I have a distribution now. I will say now it's close to 800 people, so it's really out there, and I do promote a lot of events. And I also provide resources. A lot of times people come to me, more recently, in the past few weeks, younger veterans who have just left the military and now they're looking to transfer their military skills into the civilian world. So sometimes it's referrals like that. I could use help whether we have lists or something. I also do a veterans, Valentine's for Veterans event at the Brooklyn VA every year, which my late partner started. We started it together. And every year I have a team of people. We do handmade Valentine's cards. I do an outreach in the community, and today the VA loves it, the veterans love it. And it's a wonderful day. I do it on Valentine's Day at the Brooklyn VA. I also do clothing drives. That's gonna be accessory. Yes, okay, we'll let it go to voicemail, but it's gonna come in like 5 minutes. I also do a clothing drive, and that's something I just was thinking as I was sitting here. I've done that for the past, I've done 6 outreaches, I've done clothing drives. Unfortunately, the VA will not take used clothing, it could only be new. So, for example, I still have my late partner's clothing, I did not pass it on. I want to pass it on to veterans. I know other organizations, I've exhausted that, Samaritan House, I've done, Hope for the Warriors. I'm looking for other resources beyond what I know, but it has to be someone that could pick it up, or I could make arrangements to either get a van of someone that could connect. But I'm looking for further resources because, and I have friends and I have other people also that want to pass on clothing, but the VA, I know the people at the VA and they're great, but they will not take any used clothing. It has to all be new. So I'm just throwing that out as like a resource of where I could, pass on and connect with. And I was going to mention something else and now it escapes me. But all right, just to circle back quickly, again, I do a newsletter. Please send me events. Anybody wants to reach out or contact me for anything. Even education, housing. I also put resources aside from I am connected to Lori Sutton, I know. John, I know for 100 years. I will say, when Patty was in the Brooklyn VA, he got very good care, but we started seeing that they started outsourcing things that looked like they were going to close the Brooklyn VA. I actually was there with one of the people on the petition, like not to close it, we outside VA. That was about 2 years ago or so. So that's why, and I heard that people were shipped out because they didn't have beds there. But when my late partner was there, he did get the doctors. They were excellent. He got very good care. I was there every day. There was something else I don't remember now. But anyway, sorry to hit and run. But
No, thank you, Molly.
Where is the meeting next month? What borough are you going to be in?
In 2 months.
Manhattan.
November, Manhattan.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
We just don't have.
He feels
location.
strongly about that.
huh? The only one I can't get to is brunch. It's just too hard.
Move your hands and he's gonna get comfortable. But you did the right thing, buddy. Thank you, baby.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Molly.
Good night, Molly.
Okay, the next one is, it was a scribble scrabble, forgive me. I don't know if it's saying Chase,
Charles.
Charles,
Draper, maybe? Dryer, Draper,
Duper,
Duper,
Dupree. You didn't do it all right.
yeah.
Give or take.
No?
No?
It looks like
No
it.
Charles Dupree?
Nobody else is doing it.
Chris?
Yeah.
I don't-
Someone with
yeah,
the
I
C.
don't- Did you check that he was speaking?
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay.
I recognize the handwriting.
We
Oh,
gotta
who was
do-
it? Who was it?
We gotta do please
Oh, it's
print.
hers.
Yes.
We gotta do please
Chris-
print.
how about
that stuff.
Chrissy Dupree?
Cheryl.
Okay, Cheryl, we're close now. We
It
got
was
it.
close.
Sorry.
Good evening. I'm a 33-year Army veteran, 20 years active, 13 reserve, National Guard, and IRR. I did them all. I'm a import here, implant. I've been here since '97, and I've been volunteering with the veteran community since then. Couple things. The women have, or they're looking for women to do Lifetime movie network interviews. So I'm gonna leave this information on the front of the desk. You can take a picture of it, and if you know any women that wanna tell their story for a movie with the Lifetime network, you can contact Jenny. And she's also on Facebook. She does a empowered and thriving nonprofit for women. She does very well. She really takes care of the women very well. Or you could just send your intro to the person that's taking the interviews for the movie.
This is only for female veterans, correct? Not
Only female,
spouses and
only
other
women.
children. Okay.
Yeah, female veterans. I have a little bit concerned, and I haven't really heard this in any of the meetings, but a few veterans have said to me that they felt like the community wasn't impressed with them, or they didn't like them, or they were jealous of them, or they looked down upon them. And I didn't really hear any of this, but this is what they're telling me. So I just want to give you a heads up that I just hope that we don't go in that direction with our veterans. So since we have a digital person in the DVS, and I would like to recommend positive stories about our veterans that have contributed to the community, to housing, to volunteer, a lot of stories that they've done. I think that should be a priority so that we can bridge this gap between us and the civilians. The DVS, I would also like to recommend to the DVS, now they're all gone here, that we provide a training for VSOs, because we're lacking that. I see here with all the people that talk. I did 33 years in the military as a personnel manager, so I commend all these people that get up and volunteer their time and service to personnel management of our veterans. I mean, they're doing a really good job. But we need to recruit more people to do VSOs. I'm gonna give you an example of someone that's just really fumbling. I brought this reservist in, and there's a history about Reserve and National Guard not being veterans and blah, blah, blah. So we overcame that. But she didn't want to claim any of her benefits. So I took her by the hand, took her to Manhattan, and had her sign up, and voila, she got all her benefits, and she was a longtime veteran. And so I tried to explain everything to her, and she thought that she could do this, the same thing that I was doing. I don't have an office that does that. I just do it by nature. You know, if you need help, I'm gonna help you. Okay, this is what you gotta do. Go see Joe Schmo and, you know, all those other people. They'll help you. I'll get you in the right direction. But she frustrated this veteran so bad and directing her in different directions that she wasn't really interested in or eligible for or qualified for. But she did have some benefits coming. So the girl just got irritated, packed up and left, moved to DC. So we really need some VSO training. That has to be a top priority. And the VSOs that are having problems with the older people coming in, I would suggest that you do a map, a pin map of where your veterans are in the community. So if they concentrate in Greenpoint area, find a school or find a church that you can go there and let the veterans come to you in that neighborhood rather than them to come to a building like this. Because I'm not handicapped or elderly, but I was very frustrated getting here trying to find a place to park, and then I parked way down there and blah, 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 blah. So parking is really an issue, and I know Access-a-Ride is not reliable. But that's my recommendations, and I hope we can get that done.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sharon. Thank you so much.
What I do from my heart. I share information because somebody shared information with me to help me when I needed it. Because when I left Southeast Asia and came home back in 1968, because I did 2 tours, I didn't know I had psychological problems. Eventually, it caught up with me in 1988. I'm sharing this on the air. I attempted suicide. I stabbed myself with a butcher knife, just giving up into 2 marriages and 2 divorces. And I didn't get any help until 2000. Well, because I went to a health fair after work one morning at Grand Central, and I met a young lady that used to work here. Her name was Desiree Wong. She was at a table, it was a veterans table, and she said, "Are you a vet?" And I said, "Yes." So I used to carry a letter of appreciation that I received from the commanding general for an event that took place Christmas Eve of 1966. Plane crash in Vietnam. I arrived in October. We're talking about 2 months later. While everybody else is home enjoying the holiday festivities, I was 19 years old. I received a letter of appreciation from the commanding general, L.B. Robertshaw, in April of 1967 as a corporal. I didn't know why I was getting this letter. In formation, and there was other Marines doing the same search and rescue that I was doing. They received theirs later on into service mail. So I carried that around for many years. It always bothered me. I would let other people read it. They said, "Wow, this is amazing. You should let the news or somebody else hear about it," but I didn't think about it during that time because I really didn't. I felt I was just doing my job. So all of this stuff built up within me over the years. So if it wasn't for me meeting Desiree Wong and her meeting that referred me to the Manhattan Vet Center, which used to be at the regional office.
Right.
Whenever I would go there in the evening, I'm shedding tears because I'm emotional. Go there in the evening for my PTSD therapy. I felt like I was being interrogated just to go through the screen. So eventually we moved to 32 Broadway. I was referred to see a veteran therapist. His name was, I forgot his last name. Supposedly it was a male. He couldn't take me on. Oh, his name was Jarvis Roker. He couldn't take me on because he was infatuated with vets. So he referred me to a Karen Copus female. And I'm saying to myself, like, why should I have a female therapist to share my Vietnam experience with? I would feel more comfortable sharing it with a male. But thank God that she had the compassion and the concern because her father was a World War II vet. So she understood and she guided me through my therapy sessions for numerous years. And that's when 9/11 happened at a class bag. She asked me to promise her that I wouldn't hurt myself again. So I promised, and she referred me to Manhattan VA to see a psychiatrist. So I've been helping veterans, sharing information, and it hurts me to my heart when I talk to a vet, because I grew up on Staten Island. There's vets that I know over the years that served in Vietnam just like I did. And I try to inform them that you're missing out on the thing. You're missing out on your entitlement. That goes back to 1865, when Abraham Lincoln was second inaugural address on a Saturday, March 4th, 1865. Those who were born in the Great War, we'll take care of their widows and their orphans. Why not go after your entitlement? So basically, I just share information with veterans and hope that they take advantage of what I'm sharing. One of the issues that I have right now is that a friend of mine, my wife's, this woman is a Korean War era veteran. She's blind. She was stationed at Fort McClellan, Alabama, toxic chemical base. And she's been using the VA since 1959. But she's not getting any VA compensation because there's one piece of the puzzle that's missing from her records. And that's her being at Fort McClellan, Alabama. I can't sleep at night. And the other thing is they said that her records were burned up in the fire. We did the research and did request from National Personal Records Archives. They sent a letter stating that, first they said her records were burned up in the fire. Then we sent another request. The records were lent to 252 7th Avenue in 1970, and they were never sent back to the National Personal Records Center in St. Louis, Missouri.
She has written stuff from the VA that says
Oh
that.
yeah, it's got the stamp on it. That, not only that, but service treatment records from Manhattan VA going back to 1959. The woman's blind, she's deteriorated. And she still uses, she goes there for her appointments and stuff like that. That's one. The other one is another one, Korean War veteran. I personally picked him up and took him to the VA back in 2009. They told him his income was too high. He was willing to pay to use the services. So he didn't want to be bothered. He was in and out of the hospital over the years with strokes. So we get a call from Denmark from his son. Is there anything we can do for my dad? My wife and myself went over to the house to find his service records. He received mail in 2009, October, almost 10 years ago. We worked on trying to put his stuff together to get it submitted. June 11th, stuff was sent to Janesville, Wisconsin. Received mail back. They received it and whatnot. The mail that he had received from the VA in 2009 that sat in his house for all of those years was that the VA wanted him to come in for psychological PTSD because he was a Navy corpsman on board ship. He died on my birthday, June 15th. My wife and myself were away. We come back to New York just to, be there for the family and their services. So a lot of veterans are being shafted, big time. Because I know another veteran that got clemency from Gerald Ford, paratrooper, segregation during the Korean War.
Bad paper.
He got bad paper, but it was reversed, and now he has a general honorable conditions. These are people that are reaching out to me from other states. It's for me to see if I can advise them or give them some type of help and guidance. Just like the gentleman here, Tony and Sam. The line never ends.
No,
it's true. So I just want to share that with you all.
I'll see you afterwards. We'll talk about the young lady from Korea.
Yes.
Europe. Like a possible.
And I'm also part of life member of VBA Chapter 126 Manhattan, and a life member of Marine Corps League Staten Island. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Next speaker, John Moss.
How you doing? How you doing, everyone? Hello, everyone. My name is John L. Moss. Some people may know me because the article that I did with Congressman Max Rose, I was trying to work on that article for 40 years. It all started when I was 22, when I got hurt in the military. The article that I did, and I talked about it when I got out the military, I said no veteran should wait no longer than 90 days to get a decision on their claim. Congressman Max Rose and Agnes Macbeth, they took that into consideration. It made the newspaper on February 20th, 2019 of this year. You can see it, go on his website. Also, what I'm here to talk about is my friend that's standing here. He's here not only for veterans, he's here for all veterans in the community where he works. He is so bombarded, and this just to jump on what he said, we already know he needs help. We know that already. I personally think, it's just my personal opinion, I'm not from Staten Island, but I live here. I think Staten Island is a forgotten borough, especially for veterans and their families. And another thing I want to put in place here while I'm standing here, and I said this since I was 22 years old after I had my surgery from a hand surgery that worked on my feet. That's another story. I think when your paperwork go to the rating board, this is what I said when I was 22 years old when they ruined my basketball career. I think there should be doctors on the panel, not workers, not people that I come in and look at me. You read a book. You don't know about the injury. All you do is you read a book about the injury. You don't know what a veteran go through every day with a back injury, a foot injury, a traumatic brain injury. A board-certified doctor know what you go through every single day. So if that can be changed, I would be very appreciative with veterans, not only for myself, but for all the families that are trying to get benefits. And another thing I want to touch on, if they don't put the doctors on the panel, I read some information where they have one doctor on the panel. What's that? He already looked at the paperwork after it was decided already through a panel of workers that don't know nothing about the injuries. And another thing that I don't like personally, and I know some veterans don't like it either, but they won't speak on it. I personally don't like CMP. Want me to tell you why? A CMP is a waste of time. That's another entity to prolong your decision because you already got your decision from board-certified doctors. They already stated what was wrong with you. So why do you have to take time and go take a CMP, and you may get a nurse looking at you and trying to evaluate you. But this is what I did. And I tell all my veteran friends, When you go take your C&P, take your records that you already submitted to get your compensation and say, look, I know you probably read something on the computer about me, but here's the information I want you to give you and submit that with it. They don't want to see that. And that's what I've been doing since I was 22 years old when I did C&P. It took me 40 years to get where I'm at today. And I'm hoping no veteran have to go through what I went through. 40 years to become 100%. That's how long it took me. And I fought on my own, then I had to fight with congressmen. I want to thank also Congressman Charlie Rangel as well, Maxwell. That's the first one I went to. But I did all of that with my medical records. But when I did it by myself, this is what I got, a 0. So I'm annoyed with just workers trying to evaluate paperwork. It's ridiculous.
Call them pencil pushers, right?
That's all they are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. And our last. Oh, okay. Michael Abramovich.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Abramovich. I am a volunteer with the New York City Veterans Alliance. I am also Staten Island's representative on behalf of Kristen Rouse. On behalf of the Alliance, I'll just be speaking about a few things. Myself, I'm a New York City Veterans Alliance member. I'm an Army veteran myself. 6 years with the National Guard and 2 years with the Army Reserve. And I deployed to Iraq from 2007, 2008. And I am a Staten Island resident for a very long time. So I'm one of the few Staten Island residents that's also a member of the Alliance. And one reason I love the Alliance is because the Alliance cares about all New Yorkers, especially Staten Islanders. And the Alliance definitely does not consider Staten Island a forgotten borough, because we don't forget about Staten Island, and we do take great care about Staten Island because we're also a member of the U.S. Staten Island United Veterans Organization, or USIVO. So just recently we did the Battle of Brooklyn historical ruck march, and I was one of the team leaders. We did 17.76 miles that started out in downtown Brooklyn, right by the Lower Manhattan, right by Fort Hamilton, and we went all the way down by the Brooklyn War Memorial. And so we had 45 marchers. And we just want to thank all the sponsors that we have: Brooklyn Borough President's Office, BFW Post 7173, American Legion Post 1636, BFW Post 5195, a New York City Department of Veteran Services, and Kristen would be very upset with me if I didn't bring up the upcoming event. Just for reiteration, the upcoming town hall meeting with Congressman Rose on Friday, April 4th. We are also co-sponsoring that with Vietnam War Veterans of America, IAVA, the National Nurse Union. So we want Staten Island residents to also come and make sure that you guys are heard. We do take, the VA is a very big concern, and that's one of the issues that we've been hearing about. And we always say veterans first, and New York City veterans are first to none. So everyone, thank you for your time and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Well, as the list shows, there was no one speakers, and we want to thank you all. for coming out. I look forward to seeing you in the next one in November. That will be determined in Manhattan. And again, thank you for serving. Thank you for coming out. God bless and be well. Thank you.
Yeah, as Michael mentioned, going across the bridge, go to that Brooklyn hearing. It's October 4th, it's 5:30, I think. And it's IS 259, I believe.